Good evening. Welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. What's happened to Isabel? There's been no sign of this popular, sociable woman for 5 months. Her brother talks exclusively to Meridian of her family's hopes and fears.
When the sky is not the limit, how crews of the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance are honing their life-saving skills.
Spotting the signs, one mother tells us why she's welcoming new tests that can detect meningitis.
And bags of interest. A year since a charge was introduced on plastic carriers, but has it changed our shopping habits? Good evening to you. She is well known in her local neighbourhood, popular, sociable, always ready for a chat. But Isabel Munro hasn't been seen for 5 months and her family are desperately worried about her.
Isabel should have been celebrating her 42nd birthday last week, but instead police were renewing their appeal for information to try to solve the mystery of what's happened to her. They've already scoured woodland close to where she lives, but found nothing.
Well, now Isabel's brother has spoken exclusively to Martin Dowse about his family's hopes and fears for his missing sister.
Mark Munro walks me through the small wooded area in Highcliffe near Christchurch, close to where his sister Isabel was last seen on April the 11th this year. It's a place the police and local volunteers have searched extensively, but without success. Isabel's family tried to cling to the hope that she's out there somewhere, but it's hard not to fear the worst.
And that is obviously a devastating thought. You have these different ways in your head of, hoping that there's some way that she befriended somebody and they're now, she's perfectly safe somewhere and she just wanted a break from the life that she had. And, I love that.
This is what we know about Isabel's last movements. She was dropped off here by a taxi outside the Globe pub in Highcliffe. And after that, she walked the short distance up the main Lymington Road to her doctor's surgery, where she picked up a prescription. That was the last time anyone saw her. After that, she disappeared without a trace.
There's no movement in bank accounts or there's no phone calls from there on, and all the sightings so far have been discounted.
Isabel's well known around the shops in Highcliffe, a gentle, caring and perhaps naive woman, often running errands for her elderly mother. She has learning difficulties and is deaf, so wears hearing aids in both ears and lip reads.
Isabel is vulnerable. She was living with her mother. She's a person that will interact with members of the public. Yes, because of the length of time, we are obviously seriously concerned for her well-being.
The police and Isabel's family believe that vital information that could solve this mystery will come from within this community. They're asking anyone who can help to come forward. Martin Dowse, ITV News, Highcliffe.
And if you have any information about Isabel, you can call Dorset Police on 101 or Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
In other news, a man's been charged with arson following a fire at a block of flats in Portsmouth. Handworth House in Quinton Close was evacuated when the blaze broke out on the 13th floor last week. Peter Arundale, who's 59, will appear in court at the end of the month.
Detectives investigating the death of 26-year-old Natasha Wake in Bournemouth have been granted more time to question a suspect. Natasha's body was discovered at a house at Harley Gardens at the weekend. A 26-year-old man from Devon remains in custody.
The Southern Rail dispute over the role of guards has deepened after the RMT union accused the company of refusing approaches for unconditional talks. Southern says it is prepared to meet officials but will press ahead with plans to implement changes if agreement is not met by noon on Thursday.
To the Conservative Party conference now, and Amber Rudd, the new Home Secretary, was centre stage today. She assured delegates she's determined to get immigration down.
Also on the agenda, Theresa May's controversial plans for more grammar schools. Here's our political correspondent, Phil Hornby.
The second most powerful woman in government has to solve the problem that the most powerful woman failed to solve, and which helped lose them the referendum. She said the government's aim was still to get net immigration down to the tens of thousands.
This will not happen overnight. Leaving the EU is just one part of the strategy. We have to look at all sources of immigration if we mean business.
They talked education policy too today, which these days means grammar schools, and most of them are in favour.
We definitely need some more grammar schools, good grammar schools.
I'm for grammar schools.
I actually go to a grammar school, so I'm in favour of grammar schools, obviously.
But how would Tories here cope with a genuine 11-plus question from a few years ago?
If a train leaves at 23 minutes past 4 and gets in at 23 minutes to 5, how long's the journey?
Say it again.
Oh my goodness, I can't work that out. That's an 11-plus question.
Well, all right. Well, no, I want a bit of paper and pencil.
That'd be 12 minutes. No, not 12. 13.
You passed your 11-plus?
Yeah.
It's 14.
14. My brain's gone.
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
1 hour.
What? It's 14 minutes.
Oh, sorry. I think
You failed your 11-plus.
Sorry for that. That's why we need more grammar schools, yeah.
Tomorrow, Theresa May's big speech and her big ITV Meridian interview. Don't miss that. No prizes for guessing what'll be the main talking point.
We will make Brexit a success.
Presumably a full English rather than a continental. Phil Hornby, ITV News, Birmingham.
More headlines, and people visiting the New Forest are being advised to avoid areas where the annual pony roundups are taking place. Several events are planned this month. The spokesman says members of the public should stay clear for their own safety.
Police in Sussex have released e-fit images of two people following a robbery near Crowborough. They made off with cash after forcing their way into an elderly man's home.
Sussex-based charity International Animal Rescue has launched a fundraising campaign to plant 10,000 trees in Borneo. It's home to one of the biggest populations of wild orangutans.
It is a regular sight in the skies above Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, carrying out missions which could mean the difference between life and death.
Yes, the bright yellow air ambulance helicopter can be at the scene of an emergency within minutes. But now the service is set to be even better. Mel Bloor explains.
A doctor and a paramedic attend to a young girl who's been hit by a car. The young girl is in fact a dummy, and this is just a training exercise for the crew of the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance. It's being carried out in the new simulation suite at the charity's airbase in Thruxton. Here the team can create a number of mock incident scenes complete with movement and sound.
Our helicopter emergency medical service teams go to several hundred incidents a year, at some of which they have to conduct life-saving serious interventions, surgical interventions. We need to give them a facility whereby they can train realistically, which could be upside down in a ditch on the A34 in the pitch dark pouring rain. They're ready to be absolutely the best they can be.
The air ambulance flies 7 days a week and attends to an average of 2 to 3 emergencies per day. Its crew is able to provide life-saving treatments such as blood transfusions and anaesthesia. And so it's vital they're able to practice their skills.
Everything we do, we use realistic kit, we train in our kit that we would wear, we try and do things real time, and so having the simulated area makes us feel actually that we're by the side of a road and we have to be careful because there's traffic going behind us.
Formal training will take place in the simulation suite on a regular basis, as well as impromptu sessions whilst the crew are on duty, to ensure they're well prepared in the event of a real-life emergency. Mel Bloor, ITV News, Thruxton.
Indeed, you are watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thanks for choosing us. Coming up,
the end of a chapter, why Labour politician Dennis Healey's vast library will go down in history.
More on all of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, call us please, 0808 1010 095, the number to ring, or get in touch via Facebook, or should you prefer, why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
A verdict of misadventure has been recorded at the inquest into the death of a toddler who died after swallowing a battery used in 3D television glasses.
Offering his condolences to the family, the coroner said he shared the concern about tiny button batteries. Richard Jones has more.
It was a tiny battery no bigger than a button that killed Francesca Assan. It got caught in her throat, corroded and caused internal bleeding. She already had 2 serious health conditions.
Everything for my daughter that it could have gone wrong, it did.
The battery was a spare for a pair of 3D glasses the family had with their widescreen TV. When he found out what had killed his daughter, George Assan discovered more about the dangers of button batteries. He had a clear warning for other parents.
I could have been more aware than a normal parent regarding to any foreign danger that a child could swallow in a very busy house. If you don't need them straight away, throw them away. It's cheaper to go and buy them when you need them than to store them. Easy as that.
The coroner for North East Hampshire, Andrew Bradley, endorsed George Assan's warnings about button batteries and called for parents to be extra cautious. Richard Jones, ITV News, Basingstoke.
Scientists say they're working on a new test that can detect meningitis more quickly. There are 2 types of the disease, bacterial and viral. Both affect the brain, the first potentially fatal.
The trouble is the symptoms are varied and can be missed. There can be sudden fever, double vision, a stiff neck. People affected can also have a sensitivity to bright lights. It hurts their eyes.
There's also the glass test, which many parents know about. If there's a rash, you get a clear glass and press it firmly against the skin. If it doesn't disappear, that can be a sign too.
Meningitis can affect babies, teenagers, adults, anyone. One mother from West Sussex whose child was affected says spotting the signs early is crucial. With more, Kevin Ashford.
Fighting back from meningitis, Sky Harper from Shoreham, who'll be 2 years old next month, almost died earlier this year. She contracted pneumococcal meningitis and spent weeks in hospital. The disease has left her with damage to her brain.
She can't really use her right hand, she won't pick anything up, she can't walk anymore. So there's a lot of carrying her about, carrying her around. I mean, she's happy, she's, you know, such a happy little girl. But yeah, just learning how to do everything again.
Now, in Sky's case, as in many cases of meningitis, there was a delay before the disease was actually diagnosed. And in some cases, that delay can mean the difference between life and death, which makes the work being done here so important.
Research that started 7 years ago has led a team of scientists here to being able to tell whether a patient is suffering from a virus or a bacterial infection by looking at genetic changes. They're now hoping a test can be developed which could give results within an hour or so, and so help speed up the diagnosis of diseases like meningitis.
What we've shown is that if we can measure just 2 genes and measure them rapidly and cheaply, that could be the basis of a test. So what we now need to turn it into a test is to engage with biotechnology companies or diagnostic companies who take our idea and turn it into a test.
Meningitis is a disease which is really hard to diagnose. It's a rare disease, comparatively rare, and so health professionals don't see it very often. So if they've got something like this test, which will help them to establish this really quickly, this is going to save lives.
It's being stressed that any test is a number of years away from becoming a reality, but it's hoped there will soon be a quick way of helping detect the sort of disease that's had such a profound effect on the lives of patients like Sky. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, it's not just young children and teenagers, and adults are at risk as well. Joining us now is Sophie Royce from Crawley, or near Crawley. Sophie, you were struck down by meningitis, yes, but you were sent home by the hospital.
I was. I went in on the 26th of July and I had a really high fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhoea, just felt awful. And I was there for a few hours and then they sent me home saying that I had a viral stomach bug. And then I just deteriorated after that. And then the next day, about 8 hours later, I came back in an ambulance and I had the rash and it was just spreading up my body.
And that was 3 years ago. How did it affect you afterwards?
Well, I had acute respiratory distress syndrome, and I was at St Thomas's for a long time in London on a special ventilator, and I then lost the ends of my feet and my fingertips as well, because they just went completely necrotic and black.
You're now a nurse at St Thomas's where you were treated, and you do feel this new test could make a big difference?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if that had been available when I was there, it could have made such a big difference to my life. My life is completely different to how it was beforehand, and that could have been totally changed by just this simple test.
But the key is early diagnosis.
It is. I mean, it is also to look out for the signs and symptoms, that just the headaches, seizures, just like a bright light, stiff neck, diarrhoea, vomiting. There's quite a few. Some of them are quite vague, but meningitis.org, for instance, they have some really, really good signs and symptoms on there.
Well, Sophie, thank you so much. And we're going to tell people about those details now. For more on meningitis and the telltale signs, please go to our website, itv.com/Meridian.
Now, when Labour grandee Dennis Healey died a year ago, he left behind one of the biggest personal book collections ever amassed.
Yes, many thousands of books line the walls of the house at Alfriston in Sussex, where Lord and Lady Healey lived for 40 years.
Well, now many have been sold to raise money for the local historical society they both supported. With more, John Ryle.
Lord Healey was famous for his eyebrows, his waspish quotes about his political opponents, and his appetite for reading. When he died last year, aged 98, 5 years after the death of his wife Edna, a noted historian, he left behind 15,000 books. And the dealer who bought the entire collection secured a signed first edition of Samuel Beckett's first book and numerous other literary treasures.
There were amazing books in that library, books signed by the likes of Yeats or the photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson, Samuel Beckett. They enjoyed knowing people and having books signed by them, whoever they were. They were not primarily interested in first editions or collector's copies, but over the years, inevitably, they found treasures.
Nash Robbins decided to sell 1,000 of the books at £3 each to raise money for a local historical society supported by the Healeys for decades.
I got a copy of a Peregrine Woolston Socialist Myth, heavily annotated by Dennis. I doubt very much that he agrees with much that's in here, but I thought it might be funny to try and decipher his writing.
I've got a book I've already got, actually, Wooden Horse, and a couple more escape stories, which just attracted me because I've got a very odd taste in books.
And the sale turned out to be a bestseller. After 2 hours of brisk trading, only one slim volume was proving hard to shift. John Ryle, ITV News, Alfriston.
Now, it's been a year since the government forced shops to charge for bags to help tackle the litter problem.
Yes, it's only 5 pence per bag, but has it changed the way we think about bags? Our reporter Matt Price has been looking back at the 5 pence charge.
Old habits are hard to break, but when it comes to charging for carriers, Britain, it seems, has embraced the change. Thousands of shoppers pass through this supermarket every day, and while the items we pick up might be the same, there is now one big difference.
Do you need any bags?
We've seen a huge change in how customers behave and how they're using carrier bags. Customers have adapted to not using free carrier bags very, very easily, and they're loving the fact that it's helping local projects and local environment as well.
Gerard has come prepared. He's among the 90%, one survey says, who now bring their own bags to take home the weekly shop.
I think it's great because there's not the bags kicking around, and at least I can use things that I've bought that I know are good and useful and for other things as well.
Figures show that in 2014, before the 5 pence fee was imposed, 7 of our biggest retailers handed out over 7 billion plastic bags. But in the first 6 months of the charge, that reduced to just over £500 million, and so far £29 million has been passed on to good causes. And when it comes to taking carrier bags with us, we're a nation of savvy shoppers, it would seem.
I've got pockets full of bags here.
Pockets full of them?
Yeah. And the big ones, sorry, you can exchange them for a free one, it gets a hole in it.
Yeah, we take the bags with us now, keep them in the car, makes life a lot easier.
Well, not to save money, it's just that
They're there, so you might as well use them.
Do sometimes, but then I tend to forget, so I don't go into paying for them.
Environmentalists are reaping the rewards as well. As we use fewer bags, it means less of them enter our seas, rivers and docks.
If you're eating plastic, you can't digest it. And once you've got a stomach full of plastic, then there's no room for real food. So obviously your problem is animals are starving to death with stomachs full of plastic.
Of course, plastic bags still need disposing of. Instead of sending them to landfill, some plants like this one burn them along with general waste, creating power for 26,000 homes a year.
A lot of people still use them as a pedal bin liner, and you'll find that there are stocks in people's cupboards, so still we have quite a few carrier bags coming through the waste.
A small charge then appears to have made a big difference, with predictions that charging for the humble carrier bag will carry on, helping charity while cleaning up our country too. Matt Price, ITV News.
Well, plenty of your views on our Facebook page. Nat Fabry from Bournemouth says, I remember to take my old bags when food shopping, but I haven't got into the habit of taking bags when clothes shopping.
Meanwhile, Rosie Duffin from Fareham says, I take my bags when I remember. I do buy bags from the Co-op, other stores are available, as they fit nicely in my kitchen bin. I don't begrudge the 5p spent as it goes to charity.
But Sean Norris says it's not about environmental issues, it's about generating revenue. Otherwise, we'd have scrapped plastic bags long ago and introduced brown paper bags like America. Thank you for getting in touch, as always.
Prince Harry has honoured 3 young people from our region for their courage at the annual Well Child Awards.
Yes, the Prince was joined by a host of celebrities for the event, which recognises children with serious health problems, as well as the professionals and volunteers who help them.
Yes, among the winners were 8-year-old Sam Merrick from Waterlooville, 14-year-old Emily Wright from Redlinch in Wiltshire, and Michaela Burns from Wantage in Oxfordshire.
Congratulations to them all. Simon's with us now. Simon, how are you today?
Well, it's been a busy old day. As you know, yesterday we launched our all-new look weather graphics.
Yes.
We've had a bit of reaction from well, mostly good reaction. Most people seem to quite like the new look, which is great, and you're more than welcome to share with us your views. meridianweather@itv.com is our email address, or you can tweet me if you're on Twitter @SimonParkinITV. A couple of hiccups that people have been concerned about. When the winds blow, we've got the arrows shooting across, but we don't say what the speed is.
Okay.
So I'm going to try my hardest to remember to say that when I talk about the winds now. So that covers that bit.
Well done.
And then the other thing is, forever and a day since I've been here at Meridian, we've done the barometer setting.
Yes.
And yesterday I just didn't have time to work out where we could do it and how we could do it. That's fixed for tonight, so if you called in about that, that's sorted. And I think that's pretty much covered all of the issues that everybody had.
And do you feel it is giving a more accurate picture of the weather?
Well, because we now follow the weather hour by hour, it does show a more accurate plan. The only trouble is, at the minute, there is no weather. We've got like a few bits of cloud floating around, and that's pretty much it. So the maps are a bit empty. But wait till it rains, wait till it snows, wait till we get some proper autumnal and winter weather, and it'll look great.
Is it going to rain or snow over the next couple of days?
Sadly, no.
Staying beautiful.
Talking of beauty, here he is with your weather, Simon Perky Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe, Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, as planned, there has been some pretty fine weather around again today, and it was fairly warm as well. Lovely start. This was Rockford Common at the crack of dawn from Nick Lucas. And here's a more autumnal picture from Southampton from Colin Lee. And the autumnal weather is going to arrive this week. It'll stay fine and settled, but things will be a little bit cooler as we head towards the weekend. 16, 17 degrees today, not doing quite so well compared to other parts of Europe, but temperatures dropping by a degree or so each day over the next couple of days, so it is going to feel that bit cooler and that bit fresher as we get towards the weekend. For tonight, well, it's clear spells. We've got some patchy cloud, you can tell from the cloud shadow on our map here. And because we've still got a bit of a breeze blowing, it's not going to get too cold. Temperatures in some rural spots just dipping down into single figures, but generally we're talking 12s and 13s across the board. But as I say, quite breezy. It's going to be even more windy as we head through tomorrow, and there will be some patchy cloud at times, perhaps a bit more than you can see on the map just now. Some decent sunny spells too, but the temperatures struggling tomorrow. They'll reach around 14 or 15 degrees, and if you are along the coast or by the Isle of Wight, watch out for those winds blowing at around 25 to 30 miles an hour, quite gusty inland as well. As for your high tide times, you can see on the Isle of Wight 1:30 in the morning, then 10 to 2 in the afternoon. And then the outlook, well, another decent day on Thursday, staying dry and fine. There will be some bright spells, but more in the way of cloud. That's the plan on Friday too, and come Saturday we could see some showery rain.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's how we look this Tuesday evening. In just a moment, we've got the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale.
Stacey's got Outlet News. Do join her if you can. But for now, from the entire team here at ITV Meridian, thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.